The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
West Tigers podcast, episode number 453, and it's a post-victory edition of the West Tigers podcast. 22 points to 20 over Parramatta, and I think I said last week, what would it be like? How grey am I going to be after, 1,000 episodes? I think I'm a lot greyer after that afternoon. That was tough going, Josh. How did you handle it?
That was very stressful, Joel. I'd love as a Tigers supporter to have nice, easy games where we win by 40 every week, but no, that doesn't seem our lot in life. So very stressed. I was, the dog almost got kicked on the couch, and it was very stressed.
I did happen to say to my wife when Moses kicked that goal, oh dear, we probably should have won this one, but this is going to get away. Declan, you didn't, like, after 20 minutes say we're no hope or anything like that, did you? You had optimism all the way through that game, is that right?
Yeah, Joel, I just thought the entire time that, when you take away the first 20 minutes, we were on top in terms of when the ball was in play for large periods of time.
Yeah.
Obviously, the sin bin changed that momentarily, but once we survived and Parramatta didn't manage to take the lead with one player in the bin for us, I thought that we were on top still. We just couldn't convert it. So even when Moses kicked that field goal, I still kind of thought we had a chance. We just had to get possession back. And to the Tigers' credit, Samuel Afanu, I think he took two clutch, short kickoffs, which is really hard to do. And credit to him. I think Benji said in the press conference that Samuel has got the best hands at the club. So yeah, I just think that the short dropout, it's such a kind of important skill to have these days. But yeah, there was something different about this one. I just thought we were the better team, to be honest. And it just felt that Parramatta were kind of hanging on towards the end, and we just couldn't quite execute before it went to Golden Point.
There's a lot to discuss, and maybe my gut feeling is that some of this will be discussed in the next podcast as well. I think there's just so much that we could talk about after that performance. But let's do our one words. As always, I'm cheating and I've got more than one word. Josh, you're limited to one. What have you got?
If we lost, the one word was going to be Laulilii. But given we won, my one word starts with L, is lucky. I thought, as Declan said, I thought we played better, but we're still lucky to get away with the win. But you need a bit of luck in seasons, Tigers of old probably don't win these games with a bit of luck, but we did a lot of work to earn that luck, so we deserve a bit of luck. So
yeah. I think sometimes there's been teams that have the difference between ninth and eighth is a couple of games where you get a little bit of luck, and I'm happy to take some because we're owed some. Declan, what have you got before I launch into my list?
I have two words: psychedelic euphoria.
Right.
Just seeing Mitch Moses at the end, just absolutely complaining, and we finally beat him in a big game, which doesn't tend to happen. Usually, he's got the chocolates over us. So it was just great for us to not only beat him, but for him to just complain the entire time as well. It was very satisfying.
He's an interesting character, isn't he? What did you think of him getting his hands on the referee a few times? And it wasn't done in an aggressive way or anything like that. But I think that's something that, as innocent as it may have been, I think that's something that probably shouldn't be being encouraged or allowed.
Well, it is. And you've seen other players get suspended for just touching the referee inconsequentially. I think over the last couple of years, you've seen that happen to a couple of guys. But as you mentioned, there were multiple times when his hands were on the ref. It's just a no-no. It seems Mitch Moses gets away with lots of things that perhaps others don't. I think some of the ways he talks to the ref is bad. But as Declan mentioned, I'm almost more excited tonight to see Mitch Moses lose than I was to see the Tigers win. That's how much I enjoy seeing him lose. So, but yeah, you're right. I don't think that's acceptable, and I imagine there'll be at least a talking to, if not some more news, or there should be more about that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine one of our big forwards doing the same thing, like Samuel Finu just like grabbing the ref by the jersey in any kind, no matter like how hard it is. So yeah, I didn't even think about that actually, but I think that's a good point.
Well, while we're talking about annoying people, also Fox, you should know I turned the commentary off because Ennis was on. I believe I heard him pre-game and I thought that's it, and it went down to 0, and I listened without the commentary, so commentary off. My words, I've got underdogs because don't forget we were the punters got that one wrong. I've got fitness. I thought our fitness at the end made a difference. Physicality. I haven't seen the West Tigers smash a team like we were smashing them in the first 10 minutes after halftime. That was so good to see. And Sione Fainu's hit on Josh Adokar and a few other plays in that game where I thought we brought really good physicality. And then I've got two words that are tying for my favourite for this week. I've got Madden, and we'll talk about Jock in a moment. But I've got sideways. And what I mean by that is I thought in our first 30 minutes and at times in the second half, we fell into that trap once again of going row, row, row your boat, going sideways, sideways, sideways. And it was when Royce Hunt was on and Sione was on and we straightened up and we had good, hard, straight running that I thought we looked a lot better. And that's when we snatched back momentum. I think, Josh, that's something that we can work on through the season is getting out of that going around and round and round and sideways.
I agree. I agree with your point about the bench. I think our bench has changed the game for the last few weeks. Like even against the
Yeah.
South match where we lost, like Hunt and Sione Fainu coming on have really changed the game. It's probably one of the stronger bench prop combinations in the comp, and it's really been showing that way. I thought tonight as well. Royce Hunt came on, and he just makes meters, and but he's not got the tiredness that he was kind of getting when he was unfitter. Sione's charging through, but you're right. We are going a bit sideways. I think. One of the things I've kind of been watching these first few weeks, I think Terrell May I love him and he does a lot right, but sometimes I'm like, just run the ball straight. Like he gets that ball in the middle and just kind of dances around and yes, it works sometimes. So kind of there is that, but I kind of want him to just go forward a little more because I think that creates some space. And then I think you see that kind of spread across the back line. Yeah, I think that's a good call out around. We do seem to be going sideways a little. And Benji did mention in the press conference that our attack needs a bit of work. And I think that's probably it, is that tendency to go a little sideways.
Yep.
Yeah, it just seems that we really struggle when defenses are fresh and there's not really any fatigue in the game. Yeah, because it was really disappointing in the first 20 minutes because we actually had some like pretty good ball in Para's line. And I think if there was one pass, it hit the ground, but if Buller caught it like clean, I think we had an overlap, we could have scored. But besides that, we didn't really make any inroads against Parramatta, who aren't really known this season as a good defensive team. So I don't know, but I feel like Benji, like it must be like a message going around, like, look, just the first 20 minutes, just, hang in there. We can, because we know that we can, once the game breaks down, once like the ruck is quicker, once it's more free flowing, we know that we can like put points on teams because that's the third week in a row that they've really targeted that 10 minutes before half time. And we've really swung momentum to get back into it and be winning going into the second half. So I reckon it must be like there must be a message somewhere being Benji just like, all right, don't panic, don't beat ourselves up. We know that we can beat them late as opposed to like going ahead early and getting run down.
Yeah, and I think you look and you go, well, outside of those first two early tries, which were in the first 15 minutes, we did let in two more, but they were both during the sin bin. Outside of that, we didn't let any points. So it's kind of 22-10 for the next 65 minutes, and it's kind of a reflection of how the previous couple of weeks have been. It has been working. Now, I'd like us to stop giving away the 10-0 leads, but we have been coming over the top of teams all season, and hopefully that continues. But yeah, need to fix that first 20.
But yeah, it's an interesting like psychological aspect of the game where like the team I just saw with the Broncos so much last season where they would go to like deficits in big games, but they just always had the confidence that they could like run it back. And no matter like kind of how, as long as the scoreline was like somewhat in reach. They had the class and the ability to claw back, and I think it also kind of plays psychologically against the team that's winning as well, knowing that they had like, oh yes, we scored, but we need to score more. And then when you get run down, momentum's just so big these days that in some ways, like it's like it doesn't really matter how you start; it matters how you finish. And yeah, it's just so good to see that like we are finishing strongly. And if it wasn't for that sin bin, I reckon we would have done it like quite comfortably. To be honest, I think that sin bin really let Parramatta back in the game.
Well, we'll talk about the sin bin shortly. But I think there's something that we need to mention is that if we look at those slow starts, I'm sorry to say this, but there's one guy that's been involved in probably 90% of the tries that the tries that we've conceded in those first 15 or 20 minutes, and that's Luke Laulilii. And it happened again today. He wasn't responsible for the second one. The second one was where Paulo got over, and it wasn't great defense on our part, but Laulilii is a heart in your mouth kind of guy. And I don't know, Josh, I know that you're not a big fan, but I think we've got to get Makasini back onto that wing and maybe a suspension, maybe if that happens. But Stafford came back in New South Wales Cup. We've got to get Laulilii off that wing, I think.
I think we have to get him off. It's not just the sin bin, as you said. He let in that try. I think he's let in tries at the start of every week. Honestly, for me, he's just not in the top squad. He's struggling to be in our backup squad. Look, I think Skelton will do a better job. I think Toa coming back from injury. I think Tavana is now ahead of him for mine. Perhaps not Will Craig. I think I did say that in the chat at one stage, but perhaps I was just a little bit too overzealous there. But I think, look, I like his charges back. Like when he catches the ball, he runs hard back. Like he does charge through the line. But his defense is just not up to NRL standard. So I think he's got to change. Look, and to be fair to them, I think the combination, like I don't think Makasini's a great defender at centre yet, and then that's fine. And I think Madden did lots of things right, but I don't think he's a fantastic defender. Like they kind of weren't positioned well. But Luke charged in on that first try. I don't know where he was going, even if he got there, and he didn't get there, and then turned around and Madden was chasing the winger and he just kind of stopped. So not only did he not do the right thing, he then didn't show the effort to follow that up. So I'd have him in reserve grade, and I feel like that's harsh on a couple of the reserve grade wingers who were very good in Cup today. So
they got to win. Yeah.
I think the thing with Luke is that like the most important part of the modern day winger is that yardage back. And I actually thought he was amazing with his yardage. He took some really tough carries. And like, I agree with what everyone is saying about the defensive reads. And then I think he knocked a ball on as well on play one off the scrum.
Yes, he did. Yes.
When we were like struggling. I think the thing is that because he's signed with the Bears, I don't really have like an appetite. Like obviously with young players, I feel like that's just something you just have to kind of accept that they're going to make mistakes because they're not the finished article and they're not polished like first graders yet. And with Luke, if he was signed on to the Tigers for next year, I would kind of be like, look, it's not ideal, but he's so young. Like I can see the kind of cornerstones of a good player if he just improves his hands. But the fact that he's going to the Bears tomorrow, not tomorrow, sorry. The fact that he's going to the Bears.
What do you know that we don't?
Yeah. Send him now.
The fact that he's going to the Bears next year kind of makes me less keen to like continue his development. And I know that's harsh, but I think that's just the business aspect of it. And it's which is annoying because I can see you can see the hallmarks of like a good kind of robust winger, but there's plenty of development still to go with him.
Well, I mean, let's just quickly throw Tavanu out there, who I thought, for a guy that's even less experienced, I thought he played really well. That was a fantastic leap for that try just after halftime, Josh. I mean, he seemed to have a little bit of maybe a hamstring problem or something late in the game, but I was impressed again.
Yeah, I was very impressed by him, that leap, but a bunch of others, like the Eels were scared. Like they were, he earned us a penalty on another one on the line because they were having to put up blockers there because they were scared of him. And he ran the ball back hard. He seems to have good hands. He does a few special things, and he's only 2 games in. I would very much persist with him over Luke, I think. And his defensive positioning on that side seems okay outside of what's an inexperienced centre in Taruva. Tavana, I've been very impressed by.
I've got to give Taruva a rap. I mean, he comes back, he gets smashed, but he's so reliable and just such an energy machine for us. So he goes a lot unnoticed. And Makasini, how tough is Makasini? Like that head clash, and he got beaten up a few times today, but he was there till the end. I was really really impressed with just his toughness. We've got Madden to talk about, we've got the sin bin to talk about, but I wanted to talk about back rowers. Declan. Kai Pearce-Paul on that right side. In the press conference, Benji said he's definitely helped our defence, but some of the plays today, try assists, the last passes, Samuela on the other side, that's the difference between. It's one of the big differences, not the only difference it was, but one of the big differences between where we were a couple of years ago is those guys and what they're bringing to this team.
Yeah. I mean, what's there to be said about Kai Pearce-Paul that we haven't kind of said the last few weeks? I mean, he was absolutely amazing. And, if you're the Newcastle Knights fans, you're probably like, where has this been, since he's been in NRL? But he was kind of just doing everything that, like, we kind of thought he would do when he came from Super League. Like that, and that offload Bulla, just the way he kind of like moved his line, like while the ball was in the air. I think that's just kind of like class of like a top quality edge back rower. And he just got so much skill. I said it in a group chat, another group chat that I was in, that going from say Farf to Kai Pearce-Paul is like cheating because it's just like it's such a difference in terms of like just like quality on the edge. And like so he was amazing. He didn't set a foot wrong. Defensively, like he's like so sound as well. Like you feel really safe when he's there. And then like Samuel Fainu, like he didn't have like the kind of like barnstorming like run the try that he's kind of done in the past this season, but he like his 1%ers I thought were amazing this game with like as we said before the 2 goal line dropouts. He was solid defensively as well. That left side wasn't getting much joy. Like we didn't really create much down that side, but he was still finding a way to impact the game. So yeah, the back row is amazing. I'd be a bit scared if one of them went down injured because there's not much in terms of quality backup. But yeah, hopefully they stay injury free.
Yeah, it's so good to see, and you're right about Kai Pearce-Paul and Samuela. They both give me an air of confidence when they play. I feel more confident when they're there, And I was looking at the lineup and I was thinking to myself before the game, the Eels have got to overcome a lot of quality players here if they're going to win this. Just on the Eels, I thought the ironic thing is it's actually what lost them the game in the end, but their line speed, especially off the goal line, Josh, that was very much one of their plays, one of their strategies to beat the Tigers was really quick line speed. They were up really quick, and I think that affected us in terms of what we were talking about before in playing more direct. They were right up in our face. Josh,
yeah, they were. They were very much right up in our face. I think we probably could have got a few more offside calls over the game as it was. And that kind of pressure does make it hard, but I think you're going to see that on a bunch of teams because last week the Warriors probably weren't quite as up in our face and we created a bunch of points and teams are going to be charging up for that, especially with those big back rowers on the edge. So, look, the Eels did it, but we managed to get through. I thought we were unlucky not to get another couple of tries over the night. So, yeah, and it gives you the opportunity with the kicks through. So maybe that's something we need to think about with that. Declan?
Yeah, well, sorry, I just had to. It was just too funny to miss. What about like I think it was 18-all. Mitch Moses is screaming for the ball to shift it to the right, and then Talon De Silva just decides to go for the hero play, and then throws it blindside to the winger to drop. I mean, that is just like so much was happening at the time, and I feel like it wasn't really like picked up on. But if you're the coach, you're just like that might be the moment that the Tigers kind of went on to not win the game, but like not lose it because I think our player came back on after that. And that was just such a bad moment from him, which was great to see.
There was also that Mitch Moses play when they were under the pump, and he kicked it. I think it was on the first or the second, and kicked it dead. I think they've got a 6 again.
That was Pezzett, yeah.
Pezzett was it Pezzett, was it?
Yeah.
Coach killers, they're called. Yeah. Let's have a look at these one-word submissions from the West Tigers podcast forum. We're probably going to miss some because we're recording, not too long after the game, and they were still coming through. But please do keep them coming. Tigersman, heroic, talking about Jock Madden. Pat Walker, Moses, the Eels are perfect for that slimy grub. LFC Tiger, Jock, his kicking game keeps us in that game. Yanni, unbelievable. Past Tigers wouldn't have won that one. Mike's word was heart. That was an all heart effort. Silius Soddis, real. Benji is developing something real in the club. London Tigers went for KPP, hits hard and solidifies our right edge. Barrett was just the one word was Jock, played his usual 8 out of 10 and it was enough. Snake's word was clutch. At last, a player that has the clutch plays. His place has to be cemented. We're obviously talking about Jock Madden. Tiger Lily went for United, and Nat Max 78 went for How. How did we get that done? We're different in 2026. Jock Madden is 26 years old. He's had a couple of years at the Broncos. He is looking more and more like a first grader. We have Jerome Luai potentially coming back early. We've spoken about this before, but what are we going to do in the halves when Luai is available? Because I can't see Jock losing his position. Josh?
I said it the other day, and I'm going to stick with it. I still think it's Jerome and Adam, although I wouldn't be surprised if Adam gets a week off when Jerome is back, because he's still not kicking. So I assume that groin injury it's still troubling him, and maybe they'll wait till Jerome's back and then give Adam a rest. But no, I'd still have Adam and Jerome in the halves. But I tell you what, Jock is doing a fantastic job, and luckily he's signed up for this year and next year as a fantastic backup, because I think there'd definitely be people at the Dragons and a few other clubs who'd be thinking that they don't have a halfback of that quality in their whole club, let alone as a backup. So he was fantastic. He steered the team around really well. He kicks really well. He's really calm. He's a really good general halfback. I think his defense still worries me a little, kind of his positioning, but thought
he did make some pretty important tackles today, though.
And his effort, like running across for those two that they actually scored, but he was like diving at the guys in the corner. Thought his effort was great. There is a lot to like. Jock's a great guy, clearly a good halfback. It's a great problem to have as a club.
Declan, obviously everybody goes, well, Dewey to lock, but I don't think we want to move 12 from that position at the moment. I was thinking maybe if Lily is injured, is suspended, or we want to make a change there, and Luai is available, potentially you might move Dewey to centre.
Well, I think that Benji in the press conference kind of said that Luai won't be fit next week, so like we can probably kick this can down the road a little bit. But look, I'm not a fan of Dewey in the centres. I just think that he's trained the entire off season at 7, and I think with that comes like a bit of obviously the leadership and the kind of role you have within the team when you play 7. I think to move, like, as good as Jock has been, to move Dewey back to the centres, I think that just kind of sends a message that we're kind of going back from what we've planned all off season. And although it's really harsh, I think that Jock's probably gonna go back to the bench when we have a fully fit team. But he's definitely done himself no disservice. I mean, that kick towards the end from 40 out, that is a tough, high pressure kick, and he just nailed it. And he looks a little bit like Cooper Cronk as well when he put that kick up for Tavana. Tavana. That's the immediate thing that kind of came to my head. I think in the 20, he's he probably could work a little bit on his creativity, but he just does all the other 1% of stuff really, really well. And he's probably the only genuine 7 we have at the club at the moment. So I can definitely see the thought to kind of move the jigsaw puzzle around to try and fit him in the team. But I think unless Luai and Dewey kind of come back and it's not clicking with them, I would agree with Josh and probably put Dewey back to 7 when Luai comes back.
It's a hard one, isn't it? Because we do the kicking game, not the goal kicking, but his actual kicks in play were probably better than what we've seen from Dewey and Luai, Josh. I mean, that's got to be a factor as well. Some of those kicks were the difference in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't think there's any doubt that Jock has the best kicking game in the club. I'm fully in agreement with that. I think Adam brings a bit more from leadership and his strength, and then Jerome is Jerome, who I think brings lots of things. As I said, it's a great problem to have. And look, over a season, Jerome will come back. Adam's probably not going to play a full season. He has a history of injuries. Obviously, I'd imagine, hopefully, Jerome, although I did see in the paper someone suggested Adam was going to be a bench player for Origin too. So perhaps Jock can be filling in when they're both playing for New South Wales. But look, I think, he does have a fantastic in game, and that gets you in the field, and it allows you to play a different style of game, perhaps to Jerome and Adam. That's probably the difference is the type of game you play. I think his long kicking game and those kind of kicks for Tavana are just fantastic. I'm not sure the others can pinpoint those kicks quite as well, but so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it does suck though, because like with Luai and Madden, like they complement each other's games like almost perfectly. And like it's funny how we actually did try and sign Adam Reynolds to the club at the end of last year, but now we've somehow landed with that, although like probably not as like talented, like a younger kind of version of Adam Reynolds. But yeah, and I think the thing with Adam Dewey as well, if I'm going to be like super critical, is that he can sometimes like die with the ball a little bit. So maybe having like someone like in Madden, who's like going to do all the organizational stuff and like not die with the ball as much. That could just like smooth over the entire attack. And I would love to see Madden with Luai at some point early in the season, because like I wouldn't be surprised if they just clicked and like everything kind of went from there.
Because if you think about, and we'll move on from the subject after this if you like, but if you think about Penrith and you think about Cleary and Luai, like Cleary is not, like 95% of his game is just game management. It's just that kicking game. It's the leadership within the team. It's not that he is the most creative, constructive player all of the time. He does it when he has to do it, like he did in that grand final a couple of years ago. Like I just don't know. I just think that there's the potential there that he and Luai will work really well together. And I think that's what Luai needs outside of him, because you just want Luai to chime in and chime out in those special moments and not necessarily feel like he's carrying the weight of the world. We tried that last year. So I think Madden could be a good foil for him. And, I don't know what that means for Adam Dewey, because I can't see a logical next step. The other thing I was going to think, maybe then, as you said, Josh, Madden goes to the bench and maybe Latu gets a bit of time playing longer minutes in New South Wales Cup. Do you think that would be? I thought Latu was good again. He just runs straight, but a bit of time in New South Wales Cup probably wouldn't harm him.
Yeah, I think that'll probably be okay for him, and I think especially with the six-man bench guys aren't getting a heap of time, and he's not getting a heap of time. I thought he was good tonight. I thought he was good last week. But I think it'd be good for him to get a few full games under his belt over the season. And maybe that's something with the bench that Benji will have to think about, is how do you kind of rotate those guys through? So, and even look, before Luai was injured, Madden sat on the bench for 2 weeks. So how do you get regular enough footy in those guys that's got to be more than 15 minutes? I mean, I think Seafarth has been doing well coming on for his kind of 15-minute stints, but it's probably not enough in case you get an injury. So at some stage, he's going to have to rotate back and play. Either someone's going to get injured and he'll come into the starting side, or he's going to have to go, kind of rotate back and play some longer minutes. I think the same with Latu, the same with Jock once Luai and Dewey are back. If he's on the bench, is you can't have the same bench every week with the six-man bench, because you're just not getting the minutes into those guys. I think that's something that's really, I think all clubs will have to deal with over the season, is how do you kind of rotate those guys in. So Latu might go back and play 80 minutes at lock in Cup, or Jock may go back and play halfback in Cup, where I think that team would never lose a game with him at halfback. I think after watching them today, the rest of it is good. So, it'll be interesting. I mean, Hope again sat on the bench today, didn't play any minutes. Now, I know he's not amazing, but actually he can't go a full season as the 18th man who doesn't really play. So it'll be interesting to see what happens across the team, across the bench.
I just think with Latu, like, although I thought that article that came out where he said he was really keen to move to lock, if that was like his position in the team, I thought that was great, because it kind of solves a massive long-term problem that, or not like massive, but like the kind of jigsaw puzzle. If he could like transition to 13, you eventually move 12 to prop, and then we're a bit stronger there with like May and like 12, and then like Latu, if he could put on a bit of size, he could maybe be that 13 that does kind of play that hybrid, not 7, but as the first receiver, giving the playmakers like more room to kind of work. And I don't know, I think that with Latu, I think just like we kind of forget sometimes, but he's just so like kind of injury prone that I kind of like just really being super cautious and like just giving him like smaller minutes, building him up in first grade, where we've probably got more depth. I'd be a bit scared if we just kind of like threw him into cup to play 80 minutes at the moment, because I think he's just getting that confidence back at the moment. And I, like, to be fair, like, it hasn't happened yet this season, but I can guarantee there's going to be a game where he just comes on and just changes the game for us, like kind of like the Raiders last year. And for those like kind of 2 reasons, I'm keen to keep Latu on the bench.
Yeah, I think Latu's only 20 is the other thing. Like he could still be playing Jersey flag. Like I think, we forget sometimes because he's been in first grade on and off for a couple of years now, is that he is really young. And so we can kind of take some time with his development. As you said, I mean, Twal's kind of been playing great at lock, but Twal's almost 30. Maybe it's a time over the next kind of 2 seasons where Fainu starts to take a little more time into that lock role, and Twal takes a little bit less as he gets towards the end of his career. So be interesting to see. But Twal has been amazing. So,
and it was amazing to see him giving Mitchell Moses a bit of a push and a few words at one stage there as well. I've got a new nickname for Alex Seyfarth. Does anybody have a nickname for Alex Seyfarth? I don't think there's one. But, Big Red.
Big Red, yep. That's what it is. Yeah.
Very unimaginative. His new nickname is Golly. Did anybody watch the game? No. Anyway, if you watch the game, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Anyway, what about one other mention I wanted to slide in was Pole, who last year I criticised a fair bit for being a little bit unsafe at times, but I thought he was good again. He's just sort of simplified his game. He does offer that little bit of footwork in that red zone, and I've been pretty impressed. I hate to wrap him because I sometimes feel like that is a mock on him, but I really hope he keeps it up.
I thought he played a great first stint today, and I thought he was unlucky not to get across the line there. And then there was one later on. I don't know when he came back. He only came back for like 5 minutes, but he kind of broke through again.
Yeah.
I thought his footwork was good. He was charging at the line. He's playing less minutes, although I think maybe some of that was around just how the game went today, more than him in particular, especially with Luke Sinbin, and I think that probably changed when they were bringing blokes on and off the rest of the team. But no, I thought he was really good in that short stint today.
Okay, talking about the sin bin, Benji said that he didn't agree with it. He thought that it was only because the guy got injured and Big Simonson, and because the crowd went off and the players were going on about it. I watched it and I thought to myself, I didn't think it was worth the sin bin. What was your take on it, guys? Declan, it seemed pretty innocuous to me. I know it was a tackle in the air, but if he hadn't got injured, I don't think it would have been anything more than a penalty.
Yeah, look, I think first of all, I really hope Bailey Simonson's okay, because it was a really like graphically horrible injury, and I don't understand why the Fox Sports like cameras have to like kind of zoom in on him like on the ground and on the ground kind of suffering when like really they should be pointing that way. So like, I hope he's okay. I agree with you, Joe. I don't think that Luke put him in the dangerous position where like he fell on his ankle, which is then what dislocated it. Like obviously it's a penalty because it's tackled like man in the air. If the NRL comes out and says like part of the rule is that we look at the injured player and that impacts the decision on if it's a sin bin, like that's fine, but that's not like how I understand the rules to be. It just seems to be kind of an ad lib thing where like sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, just based on like how the ref's feeling, because like it was just an accident, and if he wasn't injured, and that didn't happen, he wouldn't be like it wouldn't have been a sin bin
if he got up and played the ball.
If he got up and played the ball, like it might have been a penalty at most. And then like next week, like what's going to happen when like the same thing happens again and it's just a penalty? Like I just don't see how it's the right decision, where I don't think that Luke did anything like reckless. in terms of like the way he landed. So therefore, I don't think it should have been a sin bin.
Very harsh.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree. I think if you go up there and it's tackled in the air, you put yourself in a situation where you can be sin binned because you've done the wrong thing deliberately. You the player ends up in a dangerous situation. And look, should it have been a sin bin? Maybe, maybe not. But I think you take the risk of you take the risk when you tackle a guy in the air that something will go wrong. So if you do the wrong thing, it's kind of like when you go in and you see some of these head highs. They aren't deliberate, they're accidental, but you put yourself in a situation, it's your responsibility as a defender. He didn't need to tackle him. There were two other Tigers there who were there to tackle. It was a stupid play by Luke, and a stupid play puts you in the chance to be sin binned when a guy does hurt himself. And yeah, the situation of the crowd and the injury, absolutely, the ref took that into account, and maybe they shouldn't, maybe they should, but that's a risk you take when you do something dumb and put yourself in. If he doesn't make the tackle in the air, the ref can't sin bin him, and the ref and the crowd can't go wild. And he put himself in that position. And like we saw last week when Macassini was there, he waited for the player to come down and then tackled him and didn't give up the penalty and didn't put his team at risk. So to me, it was a stupid play by Luke, and it's what you get, or it's the risk you take when you do something stupid like that.
Yeah, I just don't. I just think it's extremely harsh. We're like, yes, he's done the wrong thing, but it's not like he's been reckless in the air. Like he put his arms around him. It's not like he tipped him on the horizontal, like in the air, to the point where that's what caused the awkward landing. Like Simonson, like could have landed like that even if Luke didn't jump, because he was just off balance. So it's just a pure accident. And the thing that like not annoys me because we won the game, and if Luke
It would have annoyed you if we didn't.
Yeah, but like there's gonna be like I reckon like Sam Weller was tackled like in the air as well when he took the ball, but that's not a penalty because you just got up and played it. Like I think it's just a terrible idea when you're letting like the injury dictate the outcome and for the player who like did the act. I just don't think that's how you should be doing it. And yes, like obviously it's easy for us in our chairs to like kind of judge the referee because he's there in the heat of the moment, like like it's a very gruesome injury. But like I can just tell next week the same thing's gonna happen. Another player will be reckless, like as you say, Josh, and then it won't be a penalty, or it might be a penalty, but it's definitely not going to be a send then, just purely because the other players like okay. I just don't think. I think we have to separate it somehow.
And you can't be in a position where the injury is, determines what the penalty is, because you've got players that'll fox, or you've got players that might have a predisposition, or you don't know what exactly that contributed to the injury. And I mean, it's just that starts to become a real murky area. So I think the point that I'd make overall, though, if we look at it, zoom out a little bit, Josh, I think that one thing that stands in my mind from that game is that referee had way too much say on what was going on the field. Like it was an over refereeing performance, and the fans didn't pay to go and see him, but I think he thought that they did. Like he had way too much influence on what was going on.
Yeah, I didn't think it was particularly against one side or another, but
Yeah,
as you said, he was
both ways.
just overly involved.
Yeah.
Look, and sometimes that happens when it's a really big game. There's lots of pressure. The two sides don't like each other. The fans don't like each other. It creates an atmosphere, and the ref kind of, probably the energy of the game, and it's a close game. I did like after the Moses one where he got the penalty for the little love tap, that we went down the other end, and I think the ref was kind of like, well, if a love tap gets them a penalty at that end, then a love tap's got to get you one at this end. That's how it works. So I thought that was at least a nice even up. But look, yeah, he was overly involved sometimes, but the discipline's got to be there, and I think generally we were. I think we did well. You don't put yourself in the situations where you can get penalised. Now, the six agains are a lottery. I think, some penalties, who knows? But I think some of the others, you've just got to not put yourself, or at least if a ref's going to try and get involved regularly, you put yourself in less of the situations. So if he picks out 5 out of the 10 things across a match. Well, if you only do 6 things, he's probably only going to pick out 3 of them across a match. So, but yeah, I did think he was overly involved. I think some of them enjoy the sound of their own voice on TV sometimes. So, but then again, if I've got Mitch Moses screaming at me for 80 minutes, it is hard, I'm sure, to ignore that for the full game. So.
Declan, I know you had your hand up, and speaking of Moses, but like Fox, can you also get the camera off him a little bit as well? Like I think for 40 minutes the camera was on Mitch Moses. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't like. What was McEnnis? I think it was. No, it was Cooper Cronk and McEnnis. But yeah, I do agree. I just don't think Cooper Cronk really likes the Tigers very much most of the time. Like he is very, very critical of us, and it is annoying. And obviously, I think that Mitchell Moses has kind of dominated this fixture, in the past. So I think some of that's fair, but as the other team, it is quite annoying where it does seem to kind of focus on him. But yeah, I don't know. I actually was also thinking of putting on mute, but then I think we started to score tries, which made me not do that. But yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, Fox are trying to sell a narrative and a story, and Moses was a big part of that.
Yeah, it'll be a happy day when he retires and we don't have to watch him.
I'm happy to watch him lose. We can just watch that every week, can't we? And Mitch lose, so yeah.
He's very annoying. The Richo meter, awful, poor, good, great, average. What do we think? At times I thought good. A couple of moments of great, a couple of moments of not so good. What do you think, Josh? Overall?
16 goods and a horrible. I think overall I thought the team played really well. I mean, 54% complete possession, 83% completion rate. I think we missed only, we only missed 26 tackles. They missed 54. Our kick defusal was good. So outside of Luke, I actually thought that was a really good performance. And, Taruva probably any other day would have scored that extra try. We were we're up 24-10.
Yeah.
Luke doesn't get, I mean, that Taruva try, I was just watching that one back before, and he would have scored, except KPP was in the way.
Yeah.
He was running through that gap to the hole and then went, oh, he's there. And then I think that confused him.
Might I add, not on his side of the field either. Get the hell back over on your side of the field.
That was the only bad thing KPP did all day. So I thought that, and the one KPP, we could have easily kind of run away with that. So I think outside of that sin bin and the things went with it with Luke in the first, so I thought the rest was good. But we did a lot of things right, but just not quite the polish perhaps we've had other weeks for any reason. But we still won, so I'm going to go with good.
Yeah. What about you, Declan?
Yeah, I just thought that when the ball was in play, we did a really good job of physicality with the ball, and then just being absolutely ruthless with where we gave Parramatta back possession, whether it was a big a high kick for Tavana. I think Josh Adokar was just I think someone said in the commentary, he's who is this dude? Seriously. And that was just really amazing to see, just us exploiting something deficient with the Parramatta team and just kept going. We were offloading in contact. We're even offloading at points where we poked through the Eels defense as well. We were just really dominant. So for that reason, I think good. But we just, as you guys have said, we just kind of left maybe 1 or 2 tries or on the table that if we'd scored those, it would have just made it a lot more comfortable. The fact that we couldn't do that, it then gave an opportunity for the sit and bin to allow the Eels back in. But really, we should have probably scored at least 2 more tries when we were dominant in that area. But I think it's just great to see, because now we have a bit of a sample size, where before, because we had the bye, it was a little bit misdirecting because we hadn't played as much as other teams. But I think in every game we've played so far, we've really our forwards have really gone on top of the other opposition forwards for good chunks of the game, and I think that's amazing to see. And I think that a big part of it is Royce Hunt coming, just completely switched the narrative from last season. He's also doing pretty well in defense as well, which I was kind of worried about.
And offload,
in an offload, and he just brings that kind of, I don't know, kind of fear factor where his carries just completely just decompose defending players, and it's really noticeable.
Yeah, 100%. He was fantastic today. That was probably the best game he's ever played for West Tigers, I would suggest. I think Josh Addo-Carr will probably be having some time off with broken ribs. I think Sione got him and broke a couple of those ribs. I think there'll be a few Eels players that are going to be missing. Not so sure on us. I know Appy was again put on report for a crusher, which happens every week. So there'll probably be another $1,000 or $2,000. It was a pretty soft report, I've got to say. What about I didn't get to see New South Wales Cup. I didn't have the opportunity to sit down and watch it, even though it was on television. Stafford Toa, Josh, did he come through the game okay?
Came through the game okay, played about 75 minutes. He played 70 and then went off, and then one of the wingers got a cramp, I think, and he came back on for the
Okay.
last five. Look, Toa played, like, given it's his first game of the season and he's coming off an injury, he was solid. He set up one line break that ended in a try. He tackled fine. He ran well. Like, it wasn't, he didn't shoot the lights out, but I think coming back your first game from injury, I think they would have just said, go out there, do
Get
your
through it.
bit. A lot of the ball went to the other side where Patrick Herbert had an absolute field day and destroyed the Eels on the other side. It was quite impressive. But I thought Toa was fine. I'm not expecting him to go out there and blow it away. It's his first game back. He blew the cobwebs out. Got some time on the field. I would have him back next week because I think it lets you put Makasini back on the wing and Luke out. But if not, I'd probably have Patrick Herbert in the centres and move Luke out. So or Luke off for Makasini. Yeah, I thought Toa was solid in Cup. Patrick Herbert, as I said, was amazing. Tony Suka has been our best forward on the field for 5 weeks in a row in Cup. So if one of our back rows does go down, he will make a ready replacement.
Okay.
I thought the Cup side were good. They just probably lack a halfback and a hooker because Jock and Hope are both kind of in first grade. So, but yeah, it was a good game.
What about Bunty Afoa? I thought he was going to get his debut this week, but he played in New South Wales Cup. Declan, did you see the game or?
Yeah. I thought that the kind of construction of the four pack is an interesting one for the Magpies because, as Josh said, they don't really have like a hooker, like a starting hooker in that spot, and I don't think Maverick Gaia is a good option to start at prop.
Yeah.
So I feel like Bunty was kind of like that only pure prop on the field. And like for his first stint, I thought it was pretty quiet. But then when he came back on, I thought he was really, really good. Wasn't like I don't think he was like you could say he was banging on the door to like be in the first grade team or the bench, but I thought he was good enough to be honest. Yeah. And then we have like a few other kind of smaller forwards as well. I mean, like Murray's also quite small. So like I feel like when like we're kind of up against it, it's kind of harder for him to like show what he's got, which obviously if he was in the first grade team, like he's got like other guys who can carry really, really well. So then it's kind of takes the pressure off of him. So like if he does get his first grade spot, I'm sure he'll play really, really well.
Yeah, and to Declan's point, it's a much different thing running off Appy than it is running off a kind of back rower / hooker in Bailey Hodges in reserve grade. Like you just don't get the quality of passes and the momentum. And I think that affects all the middles in New South Wales Cup for us because they're just not getting that kind of well-timed ball on the chest. Everything's a bit clunky. So I don't necessarily put that down to the props as much as, just the setup of the team. But as you said, Declan, I thought Bunty was good. So, and I think in first grade, he'd look even better. I think that's kind of how I feel about him.
Two very memorable wins in a row, two pretty famous kind of wins in a row, which puts us in that interesting position, doesn't it? We are on the cusp of potentially 3 in a row. I watched the Knights. I thought, they're okay. They're beatable. It's going to be a big day at Campbelltown. We'll talk about that game in the next pod, Declan.
They remind me of that 2018 like Tigers team where they just scrap for everything and they just like every player like even like although like the Knights have KPP and Dylan Brown, we did not have those players injured during that run in 2018. But like I don't know, I feel like it's a bit of a danger game in the sense that like they'd be like high in confidence coming into it, and they know that they can kind of win without the star players. I think Bradman Best as like a
He is.
big out for them, because like he can even like you can try all you want. You need players that can kind of turn half chances into
It's
points.
classy, yeah.
So yeah, him not being there, I think is a big plus for us. But they've still got guys like Dom Young. I think that Fletcher Hunt, Fletcher Sharp, like they're high energy players, and like they can definitely score points on us. So although I think that we should win, I think it's a bit of a danger game for us. But you never know. Maybe the elusive 3 in a row might finally be ready to fall down.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll have to get Jordan on, I think, midweek. Just on that game, like Canberra were awful. Their halfback is really struggling to get that team where it needs to be, but also defensively, the Knights scored a couple of tries by targeting the Raiders halfback, and he had a couple of bad misses, which kind of definitely helped the Knights' cause. So we'll see about that. What did we think, lastly, before we go, what did we think of the first time we've seen it, the away jersey, the predominantly white and black jersey? I thought it was okay. Maybe it needs this is going to start a debate, a little bit of orange or something on the back. It just looked a little bit too, black and white, if that makes sense. And I don't mean that from a Magpies perspective, but not quite tigery enough. Josh?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I much preferred the and I've purchased, which I'm picking up this week, the one we wore against the Warriors last week. But I thought the away one was okay. As you said, there's something, I don't know. I mean,
I like the front.
Yeah, the front's good. I thought on the back it looks but it reminds me of that kind of 2010 11 one where it was white on the back and fairly well just white. And if we can have a season similar to that, then that'll be okay again. So a good jersey's a winning jersey, and I'll stick with that. So we won today. So for now, it's still a good jersey.
100%. All right, guys. Go and relax. The job's done for another week. I'd say there'll be some tired boys tonight, and the fans have been through it as well. So go and have a relax, and we'll reconvene after the team is named tomorrow, already Tuesday, Teamless Tuesday, and we'll do another pod tomorrow night or Wednesday night. And it's so good to do another post-win edition of the West Tigers podcast. So thanks, everybody.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks, Declan.